Good morning and welcome to Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening's Sunday morning service right here online, coming to you wherever you are. So thank you for joining us online and in person coming up real soon. More on that in just a second. I'm Reverend Christy Snow, and I just want to say thank you for joining us this morning. I also want to give a personal thank you to all the people who have supported me and the center as I continue to recuperate from having COVID and pneumonia and the after effects. So thank you. One of those people being Karen Drucker last week. So if you missed last week's service, you need to go back and check it out because she provided us with wonderful music and a brilliant talk. So it was great, and that was a gift from Karen Drucker to me, to us, and we are so grateful. So thank you, Karen. If you missed it, go check it out. So about in person, let's talk about it. We miss you. I miss you. And we want to get together in person. We've been waiting on our new space to be completed. We're tired of waiting. So it is getting close, though. It's getting very close, but we're not going to wait any longer. We're going to start on the 20th of March, and we're going to meet at the home of Lisa Lee Morgan, also known as the Fifth House in Denver on Lake Norman. We're going to meet there at 11 a.m. starting March 20th until our space is finished. So for a couple of weeks or whatever it takes for them to finish up over there, we're going to meet. And thank you to our Secretary of the Board, Lisa Lee Morgan, for opening her beautiful home to us to do that. That's where we had our holiday party, for those of you who might remember that. And if you want to join us and you've never been there, just email us, info@awakeningcarolina.org, and we'll send you the directions and information about that. So that is March 20th at 11 a.m. So one of the things we're going to be doing, though, that day is not just a service. After service, we're inviting you to bring your BYOL, bring your own lunch, and stay with us for a little while. And we're going to have a leadership gathering. If you've ever been in leadership at the center, or you'd like to be in leadership at the center, and that includes people who are not even members yet but would like to inquire about that, we're going to have a leadership gathering after service on the 20th at the Fifth House. So that's going to be starting probably around 1 o'clock after we have a moment to have lunch and a little hangout time. And during that leadership gathering, we're going to be talking about all the different pieces of structure of the infrastructure of our center that worked for us when we were meeting in person, and the things that we realized we need to improve on. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to get plugged into our community and to help us jump into this new, I start to say new chapter, but this new book of our incarnation. So we look forward to having you with us. We will still have an online service at 11 a.m. as well. So for those of you who join us from Oregon and Canada and Florida and wherever you are, we still want you to join us right here at 11 a.m. Let's see. Also, we have the first and third, I'll make sure I'm saying that right. Yes, first and third Wednesdays of the month at Fifth House in Denver, same place. Another one of our board members, Joanne Havlin, is leading a Course in Miracles study group, and that's from 10:30 a.m. to noon. So if you're interested in that, you can also email for more information, info@awakeningcarolina.org. So much going on in our world, and we just want to take a moment and recognize that. And so I'd like to lead us into an opening prayer this morning, first by sharing something that was written many years ago by Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching of the science of mind, but still very relevant today, and it is a prayer for peace. So if you'll join me, by Dr. Ernest Holmes, A Prayer for World Peace. I know there is but one mind, which is the mind of God, in which all people live and move and have their being. I know there is a divine pattern for humanity, and within this pattern there is infinite harmony and peace, cooperation, unity, and mutual helpfulness. I know that the mind of each person, being one with the mind of God, shall discover the method, the way, and the means best fitted to permit the flow of divine love between individuals and nations. I know there shall be a free interchange of ideas, of cultures, of spiritual concepts, of ethics, of education systems, and scientific discoveries, for all good belongs to all alike. I know that because the divine mind has created us all, we are bound together in one infinite and perfect unity. In bringing about world peace, I know that all people and all nations will remain individual but unified for the common purpose of promoting peace, happiness, harmony, and prosperity. I know that deep within every person, the divine pattern of perfect peace is already implanted. I now declare that in each person and in leaders of thought everywhere, there is divine pattern. This divine pattern moves into action and form to the end that all nations and all people shall live together in peace, harmony, and prosperity forever. So it is now. We anchor that in consciousness as we move into this time of affirmative prayer, knowing that as we affirm, we become that thing on the inside. We radiate that peace. We become radiating centers for peace with every conscious breath. And so I open my mind and my heart and know that wherever I am, God is. That this one infinite power and presence is where I stand. And I stand strong in this source moving through me. Wherever I breathe, it is the breath of life in and out and through me, as me, where I sing, where I stand, where I speak. Beauty, love, joy, the goodness of God is flowing through me, as me. Where I doubt, God is the faith that pours in, the comfort that I need, the answer that I seek, here, now, and forever and always. When I speak, when I breathe, when I work, when I play, love is at the center of my being. And so I speak this word this day, claiming to be this radiating center of peace for myself, and that we as a center are a center of awakening and a center of peace, sending out that vibration of love around the globe. And so I say thank you, Mother, Father, God, for this time together, for the contributing partners in this service, and for this teaching of Science of Mind that reminds us, just as other New Thought teachings of unity and divine science and these other life-affirming teachings that affirm and remind us that we are one with the one that created us. I'm so grateful to know this, to live this, and to radiate the peace that is this. Thank you, God. Let us take a moment of silence for those in the Ukraine and those around the globe that are experiencing violence and war and pain.
Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As me, where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lives at my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me. As me, for where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer, here and now, forever and ever. Where I speak truth is, where I work, love is my career, and where I play, God is playing boldly, in and out and through me, as me. Oh, oh, do-do-do. Oh, hey, yeah. Whether I am, where I stand, whether I play, where I work and breathe and move and feel, where I sing, where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and leave. God is, life is, joy is, oh, God is.
Happy Sunday morning, my CCSA friends. Our reading today comes from the Science of Mind magazine for today, March 6th, and the title of the reading is The Echo Chamber. The two quotes that start the reading are as follows. The first one from Annie Lamott, and she says, "I do not understand at all the mystery of grace, only that it meets us where we are, but does not leave us where it found us." And the second reading is from Ernest Holmes from Science of Mind, and he says, "Our mind and spirit is our echo of the eternal thing. And the sooner we discover this fact, the sooner we shall be made free and happy." And the reading is as follows. "Confidently, I call grace into my awareness. My faith is present for the animation of this moment, spirit dressed and ready to take on the day. Inspiration and curiosity have set our course and fueled our daily sustenance with love, joy, and peace. Grace moves before me and checks all my blind spots, oils all my squeaks, and steadies my footing. There's plenty of time to be in the stillness, take a breath, and just pause before engaging in anything I do. I am just an echo of the eternal thing, a free and happy soul, discovering myself one moment at a time. This beautiful soul is designed with the infinite in mind, carved into being by the same instrument that shaped the universe, lit by the same flame that fuels the stars. The great discovery of all I seek has been found right where I am. I draw into my life the essence of spirit. I am focalized divinity in every aspect of my being. I trust the moreness of me to find me in the right and perfect place. I trust the mystery of grace to know the ins and outs of its own divine activity through me. I do not question the wisdom of the universe, nor do I sit idly by wishing. In absolute faith, I take every step firmly. Absolute faith moves my soul. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins says, I need do nothing more but let myself be transformed. And the affirmation for today says, I am the sweet echo of the eternal thing. every day I discover more joy, more happiness, and more peace within me. Have a great day. Bye.
You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. Oh, how I love seeing all those beautiful faces of our community. Not all of them, but many of them. So I hope you enjoyed the slideshow of some happy faces from Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening. So with everything that's happening in the world, I've been turning even more so to the people that inspire me. And one of those people is a woman by the name of Sadhvaji, and she is someone I met at the Parliament of World Religions several years ago, and she spoke to my heart, and so I've been following her ever since. She lives in India, and one of her posts this past week went something like this: closing our eyes in sacred prayer as we chanted mantras to bring light back to the darkness, truth back to the falsehood, peace back to the pieces. We are instruments of peace. We are instruments of light. We are radiating centers of peace, and it is up to us to bring peace back to the pieces, up to all of us who are awakening to this truth of our being. So bringing peace back to the pieces, I'm thinking of all the pieces. I've also brought to mind, when I was thinking of this, a post by the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living this week. Dr. Edwards shared something along these lines. He said, During this time of the season for nonviolence, first of all, that is a period of time from January 30th to April 2nd, marking and celebrating the lives of Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it's this Association for Global New Thought, under the vision and guidance of Dr. Michael Beckwith, created this thing with Gandhi's grandson, Arun Gandhi, back in 1998. And this has been, such a sacred time for those of us, especially in New Thought, recognizing these two lives that were so powerfully influential in bringing peace. And so Dr. Edwards shared that, here it is, you're right in the middle of the season for nonviolence, and we are experiencing on this planet more than 70 places on the earth that are experiencing extreme armed conflict, right? And so he said, we stand with people everywhere who are standing for peace and protesting violence. We stand with people everywhere who are praying for all the leaders in all governments. We stand with people everywhere who dare to grieve the use of violence as a means to attain dominance and economic security. We stand humbly with people everywhere who can look to their personal and national history of complicity in violent means without losing courage or hope for a better world. We stand with people everywhere who help in times of crisis and who refuse to celebrate death, innocent or otherwise. Excuse me. In our spiritual work of embodying oneness, we feel called to embrace Haiti and the threat of further instability in that country, Myanmar and the escalating fighting there, Kazakhstan and the loss of lives during the fuel price-related nationwide riots, Colombia and Venezuela, whose people are enduring armed clashes on the country's borders, Burkina Faso and the widespread political anger there, Syria and the thousands of displaced Syrians, Ukraine and the hundreds of thousands of displaced Ukrainians fleeing the invasion of their country, and everyone, everywhere, violence is touching our planet, and so it's touching us. He said, we call you to join us in the teaching of peace, teaching how to be conscious centers of peace and what it means to engage in peace consciously. We call you to share your views and your concerns with your family, your community, your members, and your congregations, considering the question, what can be done to end conflict? Pardon me. We call you to connect with other spiritual and religious communities to discuss these issues and take collective action. We call you to join us with affirmative prayers, vigils, meditations, and hymns of peacemaking, and we call you to reaffirm your trust in the power of these tools. Reaffirm your trust in the power of these tools, that these tools have to help mend, the power that they have to help mend feelings of helplessness and contribute to peace. Now, I love that, and it brings warmth to my heart to read it. And I also am, as I read anything about thoughts and prayers, I immediately think of that t-shirt that has thoughts and prayers with a strike through, right? And underneath it says change, policy and change. For me, it's not an either or, it's a yes and. Thoughts and prayers and change. Thoughts and prayers. Thich Nhat Hanh taught us to be still, do nothing. But Ernest Holmes reminded us that that was not doing nothing, right? That being still and doing nothing was actually not doing nothing. It was doing something. It was returning back to the center of our being. It was a returning back to peace so that we could be that radiating center of peace, so that we could affect this person and that person and be a ripple in our community, in our nation, in our world. It really does matter. And so our work is always first and foremost to go back to center. I was, as you know, my centering place is the hammock. So I was laying in the hammock this week with my niece, Ellie. And I said, Ellie, I'm trying to think of what I should talk about on Sunday. What do you think? And I was expecting her to say, hand on heart, take deep breath, be brave. Because that's what she says when she goes to the doctor or anything else that stresses her out. And it's so adorable when she does. And I was expecting her to say that. She did not. Instead, she said, what to do when frustrated? And I said, excuse me? To my 2-year-old niece, what did you say? She said, what do when frustrated? And I was like, well, that's a really good question. What do you do when you're frustrated? And she, without prompting at all, went, She's 2. Kudos to my sister-in-law for teaching this amazing little being to come back to center when she's frustrated, right? She said, flowers. flowers, because that's her favorite thing. That's her happy place, is looking at, playing with, talking about, smelling flowers. Now it's birds too with her Auntie Christy. But anyway, flowers. But Om was first. Coming back to Om, the sound of creation, coming back to the center of creation, moving through us. Out of the mouth of babes, right? Coming back to center and radiating that out. And you might say, well, that's easy for a 2-year-old to say who is laying in a hammock. But what about those people in Ukraine? What about the people who are experiencing such severe things in this world? It's harder. Yes, of course. And I'm seeing examples of that. I'm seeing examples of people still returning to their love and kindness. Did you hear about the Russian soldier who surrendered, and a grandmother gave him food and water, drink, and her phone so he could call his mother? Right? People returning to their love even when they have every reason not to. My dear friend and one of my first practitioner students, Katuna Meshkelishvili, living in the Republic of Georgia, which is on the southern border of Russia and right beside of the Ukraine, right? 24 hours to either Moscow or Kiev. And here she is teaching science of mind, teaching metaphysics, teaching to be that, tune into that, tap into that source moving through us first, not to get lost in the conditions around. Talk about inspiring. Her posts are amazing. She keeps talking about faith and God is all there is, and don't fall into divisiveness. Don't be attacking others. Stay in the oneness, stay in the connection. If she can do that, can't we? Can't we? Yes, we can. It takes courage to rely on spirit, regardless of circumstance. And I thought about, I don't know where I heard this, but I thought about, someone said, I read something or I heard something recently that said our scars tell us the story of where we've been. And I added to that, our scars, our pain tells us a story of where we've been, but they don't dictate where we're going. We do that. We choose that. Choice does that. Our scars only tell the story of where we've been, but we choose where we go from here. But it takes that pattern interrupt that I talk about, coming back to center, interrupting the habitual patterns that are not for us and for the greater good of all, and coming back to center. There was an amazing experiment that was done. And the experiment was with mice and a cherry tree. Now, you know me, and you know that I don't like any violence coming to any being. So forgive me that they were shocked during the course of this experiment. But I want you to kind of breathe past that for a moment and see the value in what can be learned from the experiment that's already happened. I wouldn't tell anybody to be shocking anything right now, but it's already happened. So here we go. So these mice were gently shocked. They weren't killed, but they were gently shocked when they were smelling cherry tree blossoms. Okay. What they found is that they took this group of male mice and they gently shocked their feet when they would puff in there the smell of cherry tree blossoms. What they found was that the next generation, when these male mice breeded with the females and they had little pups, they're called pups, when they had the little babies, the babies inherited the fear and the anxiety. They would put the smell of cherry blossom fumes in their container, and they would immediately become anxious and afraid. Wow. And then they realized that another generation, so the grand pups, right? The 2 generations down, still inherited that fear. Now, wow. The Bible talks about, being free of the sins of the father. That's what we're talking about. Not inheriting the sin is missing the mark. Not inheriting the places that our families, our governments, our world has passed down generation after generation after generation. Fear and aggression and war and anything that comes between us and being in our center. There was an interesting parallel to that. Experiment. The next experiment, another experiment that was in the same article, talked about the other side of that coin, that the pups of the mice that had ingested too much cocaine avoided it, as in the mice were passing down a healthy trait to stay away from toxins, right? Wow. So we can pass down good stuff too. We don't just have to look at, and it's not about blaming mom and dad, it's not about blaming anybody. It's about being in an awareness and recognizing what was going on, right? What was going on when you were in the womb? What was going on when your parents were raising you and you're 2 and 3 and 4 and 5? But then bigger than that, what was going on in the world? And are you passing down anything to the younger generations or to the world that you could stop, interrupt, change, and be that system of peace? Excuse me. Being that system of peace. Thinking about the mice avoiding the cocaine because it was toxic. It reminds me of the first time I did a cleanse. My chiropractor, awesome woman, Christensen Chiropractic, Charlotte, love her. Yeah, that was a plug. It's because she's an amazing human. But she helped me tremendously, has helped me tremendously over the years. And one of the first things she did was she had me do a cleanse back in the 90s sometime when I started seeing her. And she said, I went home with a list, and I got there and I called her. I'm like, I'm basically throwing away everything in my house. And she goes, yeah, because what you're eating is toxic. So if you want to come back to a set point that creates something new, you have to clear out all the toxicity, all the toxic thoughts, patterns, systems. The same is true, of course, with our thoughts, right? Angie and I just started doing the complaint-free challenge again, for real this time. And I think I'm on day 2. We started a little while ago, but I'm on day 2. And what that means is you go a whole day without complaining for 21 days consecutive. If you complain on day 3, you go back to day 1. If you complain on day 20, you go back to day 1. And as long as it takes is what it takes. But what will happen? And this, obviously, I've done this for years. I've done this over and over and over and over, and I still take more than 21 consecutive days. And I make this type of thinking my business, my life, my job, my everything, right? This is what I do. And it still takes me more than 21 days to go 21 days consecutively without complaining. I don't look at myself as a failure. I look at myself as human. And I see it as important to do this re-up of this, this re-up of this practice. Because what happens is we begin to clear out the toxic thinking. We begin to clear out the us and them. We begin to clear out the ways that we've convinced ourselves that the world is against us and that the universe isn't for us. And then we can come back into that first step of affirmative prayer, recognizing that God is all there is. The one by the many names, moving through all of life. But to do that, we have to be willing to let go, right? Be willing to let go of what you think you know. Be willing to let go of what you think you need, what you think you need to control. As Faith Rivera, thank you, Faith, for being a friend of this community and a friend to me and sharing your music with us this morning. But there's another song we're going to share in just a minute that's called The Power of Now. And she talks about everything goes away. Let everything just wash away as you tap into that now moment, being willing to let go. Willing to let go and not holding on to something that's toxic because it's what you know. Because we are here, as Dr. Ernest Holmes said, to be the echoes of the divine, the echoes of the eternal. Thank you, Joanne, for that reading today. The echo of the eternal was in there. But to echo the eternal and not to just repeat destructive patterns, negative patterns, anything less than that eternal goodness, we have to create anew. Every single moment, every single breath, we have to choose anew. I found a stepping stone that my mom had, and it was buried in the mud. I didn't even know it was there. I did some landscaping, and I found it. And it was one of my favorites. I always used to love it, and I still do. And I loved it because when I first saw it, I was brand new into New Thought. And I had heard that, if we take the word Lord and we exchange the word life or law, that also works. The law of mind action, the law of cause and effect, right? So this saying is from Psalms 96:1, and it says on the stepping stone, and it says, sing to the Lord a new song. Well, what if you thought about sing to the law, say to the law of cause and effect is what we spend our predominant thinking, feeling, being, energy we create in our world, we're placing that into the law. So what if we create anew? Sing to the law, sing to life, sing to being in a new way, a new song, a new song. So to do that, letting everything fall away and continually creating anew in alignment with the truth. Om, the center, flowers, beauty, in the alignment with peace and beauty and joy, God. So the Science Mind reading excerpt, just a reminder, Echo of the Eternal. Our mind, from Dr. Ernest Holmes, page 32 of the Science of Mind textbook. Our mind and spirit is our echo of the eternal thing itself. And the sooner we discover this fact, the sooner we shall be made free and happy. We are reflecting the divine. We are echoes of the eternal. But if you think about an echo, it bounces off of a smooth surface, right? It bounces off of a smooth surface. And that makes me think of Rumi, talking about polishing the mirror of our heart so it's smooth, it's not jagged, polishing. But how are we going to polish the mirror of our heart, he says, if we're irritated by every single rub? And the rub are the things that are painful. The rub is the loss and the grief and the fear and the anxiety. But it's important that we just keep polishing that mirror of the heart and reflecting that divine, echoing the eternal, being that light that illumines the world. And so with that, I would like to close with a story that Elizabeth Gilbert shared. And she shared this story about a bus driver in New York. And the bus driver was witnessing on this cold and dreary day in New York, he was witnessing everybody on the bus, just the tension and the anxiety. And one guy even pushed another one, and no one was looking at each other. And there was just this animosity, this tension. Pardon me. And he says, okay, folks, here's the thing. I can't do anything about the cold weather. Can't do anything about this traffic. But I tell you what I can do. My route goes right by the Hudson River at the end of my route. So what I'm going to do is from now until the last person gets off this bus, I'm going to place my hand out every time someone gets off. And I'm going to invite you to just drop your troubles in there as you get off the bus. Because you don't want to take that home to your family. And people started laughing and they're looking around at each other like, is this guy for real? But they did it. Every single person as they went by. Some laughing, some maybe even mocking a little bit, and some in tears, placing their troubles in his open palm, all the way to the river. And Elizabeth Gilbert said this. She said, we live in a hard world, my friends. Sometimes it is extra difficult to be a human being. Sometimes you have a bad day. Sometimes you have a bad day that lasts for several years. You struggle and fail. You lose jobs, money, friends, faith, and love. You witness horrible events unfolding in the news, and you become fearful and withdrawn. There are times when everything seems cloaked in darkness. You long for the light, but don't know where to find it. But what if you are the light? What if you are the very agent of illumination that a dark situation begs for? That's what the bus driver taught me. That anyone can be the light at any moment. This guy wasn't some big power player. He wasn't a spiritual teacher. He wasn't some media savvy influencer. He was a bus driver, one of society's most invisible workers. But he possessed real power, and he used it beautifully for our benefit. When life feels especially grim, or when I feel particularly powerless in the face of the world's troubles, I think of this man and ask myself, what can I do right now to be the light? Of course, I can't personally end all wars or solve global warming or transform vexing people into entirely different creatures. I definitely can't control traffic, but I do have some influence over everyone I brush up against, even if we never speak or learn each other's name. No matter who you are or where you are or how mundane or tough your situation may seem, I believe you can illuminate your world. In fact, I believe this is the only way the world will ever be illuminated, one bright act of grace at a time, all the way to the river. So let us not be confused or lost in the conditions of the world, or you'll lose your power, you'll lose your light. This power running through you, this power that is you, you are an echo of the eternal. And so it is. Namaste.
Power of now is always present, nowhere to be than where you are. The power of now flows oh so gracefully. The power of now is always perfect, nothing to be than who you are. The power of now flows oh so easily. Be willing to let go of everything you think you need to know. Oh, be strong enough to let go of everything you think you need to control. For everything goes away. Let everything wash away. The power of now. The power of now is ever flowing, connecting the soul to the world. The power of now unfolds so peacefully. Be willing to let go of everything you think you need to know.
Kids, we see you, we hear you, we appreciate you, and we love you just the way that you are. Divine love, moving through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, for the good in my life.
Thank you for joining us this morning and for affirming that we give in an energy of proving our faith in an inexhaustible supply. That it's not what I know for myself, it's what I know for you. That as we give, we receive. So thank you for giving to the Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening to help us continue to do this work of awakening to our divine potential continually over and over again and sharing that with others. We are a tithing center. We tithe where we are spiritually fed. So we want to acknowledge and thank you for helping us give back to those making a difference in our world. We have tithed to places like the Hearts Beat as One Foundation, the Center for Spiritual Living in Kenya, the work that's being done in the Republic of Georgia, as well as those things right at home and those people as teachers and musicians that come in and support us and spiritually feed us. So thank you for giving back where you're spiritually fed. And if that is this center, we just want to continually thank you for that and know that we are each blessed in the giving and we're each blessed in the receiving. So know with me right here and right now that I am the prosperity of the divine. I am affluent in love, in joy, in peace, in harmony, in financial abundance, in health. I breathe it in, I accept it, I align with that truth. And I say, thank you, God, for this community that continually comes together to remind each other of the truth of our being. And I release this in such great gratitude. And so it is.
We love you, we bless you, and we thank you. Have a fantastic week. See you soon.